Hey, welcome back to the Atlantis channel. I am so excited for the conversation that I'm about to have with one of my new friends, Alla. She is a running expert, like on all levels. She has been, I don't even know how many years she's been a runner, but she's a running coach. She has ran marathons, she's run a handful of 50Ks, and she's working up to a 100K, if that's, I think, is correct. Yeah. And also, one of the fun things about Alla is she has lived in a lot of different places. So she was born in Russia, she moved to Munich, Germany, and then to Paris, and then to ultimately to Silicon Valley. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, where that's amazing. Where she worked as an engineer, a software engineer for Apple, which is so cool. She has such an interesting background that I'm so excited to hear like how that transitioned into you're now doing breathwork and coaching running, right? Is that correct? Like that's such an
Yeah.
amazing journey that you've been on. And I'm so excited to hear about it. So yeah, Alla, how are you today? I'm really excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. So thanks for having
Yeah.
me. And thank you for this journey introduction. I don't know where you have all that information, but it's so good. Like, I think it's all on my Instagram or somewhere, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much summarizes like what I've been doing in my life. Um, yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, and I got that information just so you know. I got that information on your Instagram, the quiet run, is that right? Yeah, you did like an intro post and I was like, this is so fascinating. I couldn't get enough of it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what got you into running initially?
Oh my God, I've never run in my life.
Mm,
I actually hated running. Like, it was the most boring activity I could ever think of. I loved biking. I loved like lifting weights, but running was never on my agenda. It was like
yeah.
boring. So I moved to the States 2012, and my daughter was about a year and 2 months. And as a new mother living in Silicon Valley, like moving from big cities like Munich and Paris into like a little village called Cupertino was like depressing.
Yeah.
It was depressing because I was new mom. I had this baby on my own, and I couldn't connect to the environment around me. I just couldn't feel like I belonged there. I couldn't feel like I wake up every morning and I get out of the house and I like what I see. I just felt
Mm,
like this disconnect from my environment.
yeah.
And one of my friends, thankfully, asked me like, "Hey, do you wanna prep for a marathon together?" I was like, I don't know, like marathon, like me running. I don't run. He's like, let's just train together. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we went on the treadmill. We ran for a couple times, like on a treadmill. And as an engineer, I'm like hooked with data. I love data. And I started seeing like my improvements, my heart rate, my pace, all those like data.
Mm,
And I got really excited about seeing that improvement. And then it also made me feel so good. And then
yeah.
I started going outside, going on trails, going out in nature, and I finally could connect to my
Mm,
environment. And I felt at peace. I felt happy. I felt like I found my place where I could go on trails and just get lost. And it was so beautiful. And I ran my first marathon. I trained for it within 4 months. Do not recommend that. Do not train for a marathon like within 3, 4 months. It's not good. I was just crazy happy about run and ever since then it just started. I could not imagine myself not being a runner. Running became such an essential part of my life, of my mental health, of my just well-being, and that's that activity that makes my cup full every single day.
yeah. Oh my goodness. And you're not just a runner though, like you are a very accomplished runner.
Thank you.
Yeah, like all those medals behind you, like that says a lot,
Yeah.
right? And then I was totally stalking your Instagram and you have some sub 3 hour marathons.
I
Like
do.
you're good at this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel I feel like I don't know how that 3 hours marathon happened, by the way. I was
Oh, wow.
obviously, I didn't have a goal to run a sub three. I had a goal to run a fast marathon then, but I never really had that sub three target in mind. In fact, or maybe I did, but I didn't trust myself at all. I was like, who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I to think I can run that far? Who am I to think I can run that fast? Who am I to think I can line up with a pacer 2:59? I was like, what? You are like so slow. You like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I remember that morning of the race, my boyfriend told me, he's like, you're not going to run it for you. You're going to run it for us. And you're going to line up for the sub three and you're going to freaking do it. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember I had this doubt. I stood up in the morning. It was CIM in Sacramento back in December, like 2 years ago. And I got up and I had a choice to make whether I'm going to line up at 2:59 or 3:10. That was the next pacing group. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. Like, if I like break down halfway, I'm going to join the 3:10 group. But if I don't give it a try, how can I look at my boyfriend's eyes after the race?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do it. I gotta try. So then I lined up. I went for it, and after halfway, I felt so good. I was like,
Mm.
where is that coming from? And I accelerated at the end. I ran such an amazing race, and I didn't feel destroyed. I felt amazing running that time. And then I was thinking, what if running is not a struggle? Like,
Yeah.
what if running is not a struggle? What if running is bliss? What if it's a joy?
Mm. Yeah.
What if it is a meditation? What if it is so amazing that you wake up every morning and you want to go for a run?
Yes.
And those little thoughts started creeping in my head, and I was like, what is it that makes a runner a, a joyful runner? And mental aspect of this is one of the most important ones. Like, I'm coaching some athletes
Yeah.
now, and one of the things I coach is that mental conversation that we have with ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
that's where breathwork is awesome too, because that's exactly what we developed with breathwork. And before we get to breathwork, I want to say about my running a little bit. Um, yeah, and so before I got to sub three marathon, like, I've run a ton of trail races, and trail races are really like my everything. I love running
Mm.
fast, but I also love running long. I am, like, by my ethnicity, I was born in Russia, but I am not Russian by my ethnicity. I actually belong to one of those minor, like, indigenous Russian folks, how
Yeah.
they would call them, like, it's called Chuvash, and I would like to promote that because nobody heard of them, and
Yeah.
maybe people get to know about it. So Chuvash people are, they speak their own language. We have our own language, our own culture. We were there in Russia before Russia came, and we
Oh,
joined
wow.
Russia. So we have a long-standing endurance culture, enduring not in sports but in life. And it
Yeah.
has good things and bad things. And good things that come with it is that whatever life throws to you, you're going to endure. You have resilience,
Yeah.
you have grit, you just got to do it. That's it. That's what.
Mhm.
And the bad thing about it, of course, like, whatever, like, you just tend to take too much and then you, like, break down. But
Yeah.
in endurance sports, like, Chuvash people are one of the best. Like, we had a lot of endurance athletes who ran marathons, who won marathons, who won those, what you call them, like, fast walking things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have one of those Olympic athletes who were who won a lot of those events too, and that basically it's just it's in my nature. Like, I can run long fast. Oh, I mean, I can run long and slow. I can run
Yeah.
short and fast. I train to do
Right.
that. But initially, like, my strength is going far and going slow like that, and you're
Yeah.
just dial in and just keep going, keep going. And yeah, that helped me a lot in my perseverance and my resilience, not just in life but also in sports.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Oh my goodness. That is I am just soaking it all in. I don't know if you can see me. I'm just like, yes. Can I tell you a little bit of my story?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know if we've chatted about this. We've just been kind of texting back and forth, but so I ran cross country in high school. So just like the 5Ks, right? And I loved it. It was so fun. And I always loved running, and I transitioned out of that after high school. Um Okay, but I ran one race post high school. I've run one race, and it actually wasn't even just running. It was a Tough Mudder, which I don't know if you're familiar with Tough Mudders. You know, it was 10 miles long, and there was like
Mhm.
30 obstacles that I had to do, right? And I woke up at 4 a.m., went, and I just did it by myself, right? Like drove myself to this race 3 hours away, was totally there for myself to have fun. I had entered into this competitive league thinking like I ran cross country in high school, like we'll just see what happens, right? And I end up winning the whole thing. I got first place as the woman,
Oh
like
my
won
God.
$500. I was like so crazy. But the reason I want to share this story is because 100% of the credit that I give to me winning that is that the whole time in my mind, I had the mantra, this is so much fun. And it wasn't even like I didn't plan that. I wasn't even in a personal growth mode at that point. I was
Mhm.
just like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually just so much fun." Like
Mhm.
I'm running and I'm outside and there's obstacles and there's other people, and I had forgotten how much I loved running in high school.
Mhm.
And well, and since then I've had kids and just running has been a whole thing, but I the reason I shared that story is because you touched on that mentality piece and how running can be joyful, and that I've never ever been able to connect with someone on that level yet, where it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is so much fun. And I think that mentality piece is so key
Mhm.
to not just enjoying it, right? Because we want to enjoy it, but like actually winning and actually growing and having that success.
Mhm.
So, yeah, thank you for letting me share my story. I love that piece so
I love
much.
that. I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I love that. I can feel like you won. It has so much fun. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly what running should be, fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, so I would love to know, do you have a run goal currently? Like what's your next goal with running?
So my next goal in running is to run 100K next year. So
Yeah.
my ultimate goal is to qualify and run Western States, which is the number one endurance ultra running event in the States and across the world. Um, it's tricky to get in Western States, so you need to run specific races, and then you can apply for lottery and you can win some credits. And obviously, I won't get from the first place, but maybe I will from the first time. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the first step to get there is actually to run a few races and try to qualify. So I hope that I will be able to run, my health permitting, next year around spring, 100K. So that's
Yeah.
my number one goal. And then another goal of mine is to actually beat my 258 PR on marathon on the road. I've tried to
Yeah.
beat that this year in June in at Grand Mass in Duluth, Minnesota.
Mm.
I didn't quite get there. I ran a really good race. And I even qualified for the world championships with my time. I didn't even know
Wow.
it was funny because the cutoff time was like 30 seconds off what I finished with.
Oh
So,
wow.
and they sent me an email like 3 days later. It's the Abbott, the 6 star major marathon. It's that blue medal in the middle, the big one,
Yeah, okay.
6 star medal. So that the organization that runs that, they're running a world championship, and they sent me an email saying, "Hey, with your time at Grand Mass, we happy to tell you you qualified for the world championships." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's interesting. How did that happen?" Right? Like I didn't even know. So um, yeah, it was beautiful. So I wanted to. It was a great race, but I didn't get to my full potential Or maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do wanted to try to beat my 258 record and maybe one day run F255. Like at that time, at that point where you like get into those kind of times, it's really hard. It becomes harder and harder to become fitter and fitter. And it's all genetics, of course, and training. But maybe there is something that I can push a little bit more to get where I want
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. I'm so excited to be connected with you as you continue this journey and crush it, like over and over, whatever that looks like. That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
and now I would love to know. Oh, first off, I just have to like take a side note. I love that you mentioned your heritage and you said, is it
Chuvash.
Chavez?
Chuvash. It's like, you know
Chuvash,
about
Chuvash.
Chumash with M? Like there's a Native American tribe
Chuvash.
somewhere in close to Santa
Okay.
Barbara, I think. I
Okay.
hope it's called Chumash. So this is similar, but it's with V. So Chuvash instead of Chumash.
Chuvash. Okay.
Yeah.
That is so I'm actually my brain is like I'm gonna geek out on that and go research your culture because I love learning about those little nuances. They're so cool. So thank you for sharing that first off. I just wanted to highlight that and bring some attention to that because I think that's beautiful. And I have such a special place in my heart for that heritage, right? That culture that people bring to the
Mm,
table. Um, anyways, we can have a whole conversation about that, but we'll come back here. I would love to know how you are and how you plan to use breath work to support running. What does
mm,
that look like? Like, yeah, I don't even really know. I would love to know what
yeah,
you're thinking.
yeah. So let me first kind of talk about like how I myself got into breathwork, like running aside. So one day in June, I remember I was hiking with my dog, and I was listening to a podcast, and the girls were talking about breathwork, and I'm like, that just rang a bell in me, and I'm like, that's good. That sounds something that resonates with my body. That feels like a full body yes. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to research like breathwork studio close by and find one. So thankfully, I'm living in in Encinitas, which is really close to Carlsbad, and we have a really amazing studio there called Breathe to Greece, and they had breathing classes. So I'm like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm gonna go. So I went there, and oh my God, I was like, I was out there, like it just was so profound. And the only thing that I've done was breathing. I got, I told my daughter, hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to a breathing class. And she's like, Mom, are you having trouble breathing? Like, what's happening to your breathing? Are you okay? I was like, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fine. I just want to do breath work. But what do you do when you breath work? I say you breathe, but can't you breathe already? I'm like, yes, I can, but there is many more to that. So I came out from that class and I'm like, and the class was like combining, there was breath work first, then there was a sound bath, and then a plunge and a sauna. So it was like
Mm. Ooh,
a
that
whole
sounds
thing.
amazing.
And I came back and I'm like, okay, I'm 40 years old. Why in the world nobody told me about this before? Like,
Yeah.
why did I not know about the power of breath? Like, why am I not only learning about it now? And I really think it has some divine moment into that. Like, breath work is not for
Yeah.
everybody. Breath work is, and everything that has to do with breath, it's not for everybody. It's for people who are curious and for people who are open and they want to just experiment. They wanted to see what's out there. And so after that, my experience was so profound. I was so excited about it. I was like, okay, so I wanted to see what it takes to actually become a facilitator. It was like the same. It was just natural to me to like to go through that. And then I signed up to to for the training with pause breathwork. And then I was starting digging into the breathwork itself, like the science of it. And as an engineer, like I need to know the nitty-gritty details about all that stuff. So I started reading books. I read James Nestor book, and that was the first book that really influenced my relationship to breathing in the endurance world. And where do I start? Breathing is so fundamental to our existence. And when you think about sport and running as an activity, first of all, running, we're designed to run. Like the running is the most natural movement for our bodies, as breath work
Ooh, love
is
that.
as well. And if that is true, so then running should be easy, right? Like if we design to run, running should be easy.
Yeah.
But why is it not? It is not because we are not aware. So the first thing that I think is the most important part of breathwork is in running is become aware. Become aware of
Mm.
what is happening in your body while you breathe. How do you breathe? Do you use your mouth? Do you use your nose? Do you breathe into your chest? Do you breathe into your diaphragm? Where do you breathe? And all of these things matter because functional breathing means functional movement. And if we don't breathe
Mm.
functionally, we can't move functionally because everything starts with that breath. And there's lots of benefits of being aware of breathing. And I don't know if I should talk about nose and mouth breathing because that topic has been so hot like recently. And like, and I have to say this because recently breathwork has been kind of come to attention because of COVID-19. But I don't like how people bring it in conjunction with that because breathwork has been out there for years and thousands of years. And there's been a lot of research and a lot of science. It's just that now we become aware because of that pandemic that started. But let's put the pandemic on the side because, yes, it brought awareness to that. But breathwork has been out there for a long time. So for those of you who don't know about breathing science and all that, it's been there for a long time. And um,
Yeah.
the reason why I bring up this popularity of nose and mouth breathing is because of there's a lot of like marketing that's happening about gadgets to like do all these things and taking advantage of the popularity of breathwork. Like let's put that aside because that's not like what breathwork is about. Like not the popularity, not the making money with like marketing devices and all that stuff. Like we don't need any marketing devices to be able to breathe and teach ourselves how to breathe. And so I'm not going to talk about the nose breathing and mouth breathing. There's lots of benefits like for nose breathing, obviously, especially in the low aerobic endurance uh, activities where you run really easy. That's where the nose breathing is more beneficial than mouth breathing. Um,
Mm.
but at the same time, like if you breathe the way you breathe, there is a reason for that, right? Like there is a reason. If you're breathing through your mouth, there must be a reason for you to do that. Now, whether or not that inhabits some like respiratory dysfunction or some other things that don't help you to become a better runner, then we should look into that and see like what's happening. But the first step is just be aware. Like I see lots of I run every single day and I go out there and I see people running and I swear like 8 out of 10 struggle. The struggle with movement, they are out of breath. They like their breath is erratic. They just like I don't know, like it's just so it's so basic, but me myself, I've been a runner for like 2012, 9 years. I only became aware of breathing now. Like so I don't blame like all the runners out there not thinking about breathing because we are not taught about that first of all. And when we run, we don't have coaches to tell us anything about breathing either. And even if we do have coaches, what we've been told in the books, in the research and studies is nothing about breathing. All it says is like, oh, um, breathing deep doesn't matter because it's not going to bring you more oxygen or blah blah blah. It's like it's ridiculous. There is no literature out there in like regular standard running coaching
Yeah.
books to talk about breathing. That's why awareness, like that's the number one thing that I wanted to runners to understand is just become aware. Spend every single day 5 minutes sitting down, closing your eyes, and just become aware of your breath.
Mm.
Where does it go? Where does it flow? slow it down, and start observing like what's happening. Maybe sit in front of a mirror and look at your body, how your rib cage expands, whether it even expands, right? Like touch your ribs and
Yeah.
see like, hey, this last like 7 to 12 ribs, where that's where the diaphragm sits, like where does it expand when you breathe? And then what happens when you start walking? Like my new athletes that come to my program, I ask them to just go for a walk and become aware of breathing. Don't worry about breathing and running yet, because for new runners it's too much to think of to start with. So we don't want it to overcomplicate it with too many things at the same time. So if people are not aware of their breathing at all, like starting with just sitting 5 minutes every day and just being aware, and then walking and being aware, and from there you can go and get curious. Like, what's gonna happen if I breathe through my nose? Like, how do I feel? Is my heart rate higher? Is my heart rate lower? And that's where the interoceptive breath work and interoception come in place. To interoception, for people who don't know the scientific term, it means the internal awareness. It's that system that you can, little sensors in our bodies that we have that we can connect to and figure out like, oh, what is happening? Like if you connect your thumb and your second finger, you can feel your heartbeat. And
Yeah.
there are other things like in our body that we can connect to and start become aware. And there's like even a interoceptive measure score that you can measure your own awareness to figure out like, do you have a good awareness, a bad awareness, and work towards a better awareness. And the way you work towards a better awareness and a better interoception is through breath work. Breath work, that's it. Breath work, that's it. So that's the breath work part, is connecting to your body, taking advantage of our internal intelligence that we have inside us to tell us how we feel, not relying on gadgets and devices and heart rate monitors and all that.
Yeah.
Just run naked in terms of not no gadgets. Don't run naked, or
Mm.
maybe run naked, I don't know. But just create that relationship with your body when you run.
Yeah.
So that is the first step, like awareness and creating relationship through that interoception. And the second one, I think, is the mental space. Like running has, especially long distance running and performance, has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves. What's our mental game? Like, are we talking bad things about ourselves? What's our self-talk? Like, are we, when we finish the race, how do we talk to ourselves? And with breath work, you can teach yourself to listen to that voice and know and understand that this is not you. This is a voice that comes from a part of you. Maybe it's that part and that part and that part. And once you realize like, oh, and you get curious, like that's not me. That's a part of me that talks like that, but it's not me. And you don't identify yourself with that emotion or feeling or thought you have, then creating space. And so when you create that space, you can then decide, okay, what am I going to do about it? Then you get curious, and maybe from there you can create a trait, something that will then change your attitude, change your self-talk. And
Mm.
that is where when you run a race, you are going to be in pain. At one point, you are going to be in pain. And then you can ask yourself, like you're doing breath work, is that me? Like, will I, is that really me? Or is that just some other things that talking to me? Oh, you can't do this. You can do this. You are not no one. Like, you can't run the sub 3 marathon, whatever. Like, and then you can separate the two,
Yeah.
and then you can put the space in between and say, okay, I can feel that. That's fine. But we're still going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is so powerful. And I just, yeah, to recap, like becoming aware and that ability to feel and to hear and understand what is happening in your body, whether you're running or not, but especially when you're running. I just loved how you are able to integrate that into a race day per se, right? where you're running and you hit that marker of pain and you can separate yourself from it to see it, to witness it, but then to
Mhm.
still press on and continue on. Um, that is amazing. And to be quite honest, I love that you didn't like you're not touching on how you actually breathe when you run. And the reason I love that is like I think there's a lot of great things there, but in my experience of being just an athletic person, an outgoing person, a person who exercises regularly, when I hear people have conversations about breath work and exercise, it's like, this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it.
Mhm.
Or and there's all
Mhm.
contradictory and there's just like so it's just like, okay, but what do I actually do? And so I really appreciate that you bring to the table like simply awareness, because I think that the ultimate truth is probably that we're all going to be a little bit different. And I love that you name however you're breathing, you're doing so for a reason. And having that awareness, becoming the increasing your capacity to step back and witness what is
Mhm.
happening is going to show you
Mhm.
why your body is breathing like that. And potentially then from there, you can become curious and say, okay, what could I do to improve this, to get a bigger breath, to
Mhm.
increase the spaciousness in my body. And it just
Mhm.
happens naturally through that time, through that attention, through that
Mhm.
awareness. So yeah, just thank you for bringing that perspective. I think there is
Mhm.
so much value in that.
Mhm. Yeah, I myself like noticed on my own experience trying to do more nose breathing when running slow, realized that nose like breathing generally is you can't force it. Like once you try to force certain thing, it will just jack up your sympathetic nervous system and then your heart rate goes up and then what's the point? So it's so individual. Like, and today I went to a ENS how is it like knee otolaryngologist like the nose doctor, whatever that's called. So and then I was just trying to figure out like what's up, like how is my nose and like how is my nose function and breathing function. And he said I have allergies. I'm like, oh, that's why I can't breathe through my nose like in the last couple of days. So there is a lot going on and it's so individual that we can't just say, hey, this is the best pattern to breathe. There is no such a thing. There is like optimal ways and this and that, but there is no like specific way how you should be breathing. It's everybody's. And I think one of the podcasts I was listening recently was that like they took an athlete who was breathing really heavily and like really erratic, and they took him to the lab to measure his breathing capacity and breathing function, and it was all good. It was not impacting their performance. And so the question becomes like, if we change his breathing just for the sake of having a better sound and for him to feel to sound better because he sounds bad, like will like why? Right? And then at the same time then there's another breather who is like a very erratic and like just unaware and runs, and maybe there like his breathing capacity is not great. So then we can see, okay, what can we do to improve that? Maybe there is like a deep breathing involved. And it's interesting to talk about diaphragmatic breathing and non-diaphragmatic breathing. Like, first of all, I don't think there is such a thing as diaphragmatic breathing because all breathing is diaphragmatic. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be able to breathe because diaphragm is always engaged when we breathe. So I think it's just a question about definitions. Like when they talk about diaphragmatic breathing, I think they're talking about a different quality of breathing deeply, but not necessarily about like, oh, diaphragm or not diaphragm. Yeah. So it all depends. And I think like awareness is the number one key, and get curious. Awareness and curiosity to combine together will get you everywhere, like in athletic performance and running and anywhere actually in life. I think like just it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I've like been taking notes as you have been speaking because you're just like so articulate and so good at putting these concepts together in such a tangible way while also just backing it by so much. I can just feel in your tone and in the way that you speak. Like there's so much proof and evidence there. I can just tell you're a phenomenal coach. In fact, I'm
Thank
like
you.
making plans in my head of going on a run in the morning. I'm like, okay, I
Yay.
need to change things. Like you like re-sparked that. Oh, I'm just feeling so excited to go running
Mm.
tomorrow to play with these concepts. So thank
Yeah.
you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Alla, I am curious if anyone is watching this and they're like, okay, I need Alla, I need her program. I'm an athlete, I'm a runner, and I really want to work with Alla. How can they find you? How can they reach out to you?
Mm, yeah, so they can reach out to me on Instagram, even though I
Perfect.
hate it. I'm so bad on
Yeah.
Instagram. I just like I post a lot of things and then disappear for like weeks.
Yeah.
So, but you can find me there. My handle is The Quiet Run, and you can
Mm,
there is a link in that profile for to schedule a call with me. You can schedule a running exploratory journey call for 30
I
minutes and
love
we
it.
can chat about your goals. And I am super happy to help you, especially if you're thinking about running as a holistic kind of experience and not like just I'm going to prescribe you a running plan for creating your like best marathon. Like
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a lot of things and we're going to look at that holistically
Mm.
and we're going to talk about breath work and meditation and all other things to for your life to just become more joyful through running.
My whole body
Did
is
I sell
reacting. Yeah, my
it?
whole body is like, I need that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
actually not even, I'm not exaggerating at all because one of my like things I've been pondering and being curious about and raising my awareness around is my level of joy. And I seriously feel like, oh, you have connected this dot for me. I really think running is what could bring me some more joy. Like I've been strength training, I've been going to the gym consistently for about 7 years now, and it's just not feeling right anymore. And I
Mm.
hadn't even really put that like, I don't know, you've just I'm curious to see a month from now if I've like picked up running because something here has shifted in my system.
Yeah,
So I appreciate you for that.
that's the magic. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so honored to have had you on this call. Seriously, my YouTube channel is gonna like it's gonna skyrocket just
Yeah.
because of this energy that you've brought today, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And I
You're
was
so much
so excited to share with you like a little knowledge that I have. And I'm
yeah.
really excited to see what comes to you next in your
Yeah.
running journey. So enjoy that for sure.